How's it going, everyone? Kanara Gaming here. So I'm going to give you my review for the Binbok Ultra Pro controller. For the record, I'm not being paid for this review, but Binbok did send this controller for review, and I'm very grateful for that, as my YouTube channel is very small. But in saying that, I will be very honest in my opinions. And there's quite a lot to unpack with this controller. Lots of extra buttons and switches and stuff, so I will go through every part of this controller and give my overall thoughts. This controller is compatible with PC, Switch, Mac and iOS, and it does work with the cable, USB-C cable that it comes with, and also the 2.4 GHz dongle that it comes with, and Bluetooth mode as well. So that's pretty awesome already. Starting off, switch at the bottom. This is a compatibility switch, Windows switch, iOS, and direct input. I primarily play on PC and Switch, so that's all I use it for. But on the PC, both Switch Pro mode and X input mode work straight away. No syncing issues at all, which is awesome. As on PC, it also supports Switch Pro controllers, not just Xbox controllers. And obviously, in Switch Pro mode, it works straight away with the Switch. There's a sync button there if you need it. And what else? Thumbsticks. Thumbsticks feel awesome. No issues at all. They work great. They do come off as well because there's 2 extra caps that it comes with. Longer ones, which I personally don't use, and smaller ones, which I also don't use. I'm a heavy gyro user, so needing more accuracy with longer thumbsticks, I just don't need it because I'm going to use a gyro anyway. Speaking of gyro, these thumbsticks are not Hall Effect thumbsticks, as this controller is only $57 USD. But I'm a heavy gyro user, so like 70% of my aiming is going to be done with the gyro, so it takes a lot of the stress off my thumbsticks, so it doesn't really matter for me. I've had the black DualSense since launch, pretty much, and there's still no thumbstick drift, so there's that. So yeah, I love the thumbsticks, and they do feel good too. The D-pad is my only issue with this controller, unfortunately. It does come off. I actually wish it did have a replacement D-pad, like a normal cross D-pad, instead of having extra thumbsticks. That's me though. Anyway, my issues with the D-pad. I tried this out with Dead or Alive 5, the training mode, and in that training mode it actually shows you all your inputs. But when I did a full circle, it would not show the bottom down diagonals, the down right or down left. That was very disappointing. When I actually started playing though, when I went a bit harder, as I naturally do when I'm playing fighting games, it did start to show the inputs. So it may not be an issue for you, but it's still, if you're a full fighting game nerd, I wouldn't recommend this controller, or this D-pad anyway. And it's not just me, there's another YouTuber called Nihongo Gamer. He had the same issue, and he had actually had it worse. It would not work for him, as far as I remember. But in saying that, I tried this D-pad out with like a few different platformers. It was perfect for platformers. The response time was great, no issues there. In saying that though, I'm not a huge fan of the way this D-pad feels. It's more like an upgraded version of the Xbox 360 D-pad, which is not my type of thing. I'd much prefer just the cross. Just a simple Nintendo cross D-pad, that's what I'd rather have. That's me though. What else? The select and start. Select and start, they work fine. You can map these to the back buttons, which is awesome. Some controllers don't let you do that. This controller does, which is great. The capture button doesn't do that though, unfortunately. It is what it is. What else? That button there is to change the lighting. There is RGB lighting with this controller, which I might plug in now just to show you. So hitting the color button, or the lighting button, sorry, it'll change the colors, and if you hold it down for a couple of seconds, it'll change different modes of the lighting. I have mine just going through the different colors because I think it's cool. Not that I really look it down at my controller all the time while I'm playing, but there's that. Face buttons. They are mechanical. They do feel great, but there is a little bit of travel before it actually makes a sound. I've never noticed it while I'm actually playing though, but it's something to note. And also, the face buttons, they're a bit higher than what I'm used to. like just muscle memory when I was playing. When I first went to hit the B button, I was like, oh, what the hell? I had to like put my finger up a bit higher, my thumb a bit higher, which was a bit of a. Oh, I'm used to it now, but at first I was like, what the hell? But yeah, there's that. But you know, it does feel good. Not complaining now. The bumpers, I love these bumpers. With the DualSense, I use my bumpers for aim and shoot. I do the same thing with this controller because they just feel that good to use. And using the bumpers for aim and shoot is, you know, they're going to be instant triggers, so what do you call it? Instant action. So that's what I'd rather use. I'm not saying the triggers themselves are bad, but the bumpers are just way better to use in my opinion. That's how I'd like to use it with the DualSense. And no other controller that I've ever used with this Xbox layout has had this great feeling bumpers in my opinion. So yeah, turn the controller around. These extra macro buttons. They're awesome. That's the first time I've ever used extra macro buttons up here before. But I actually use these instead of the triggers. So for example, I'll have your normal buttons for aim and shoot. And what I would swap the triggers for, I would put on here instead. And you can just do this, like for example, aim and shoot, which is cool. The triggers, they feel awesome for like for example, racing games, Forza 5. These triggers feel so good. They are Hall effect triggers, so just the smoothness is just really cool. And on PC, for example, you can, like with rewires, for example, you can have one action on the short throw and a different action on the full long throw, like the soft press and the full press. But if you put the macro, like these macros, on this trigger, or either trigger, it'll actually activate both of those inputs at the same time. I don't know what I would use it for, but that's something you can do. So for example, I don't know, like aim and then shoot. Hitting that can be aim and shoot at the same time if you wanted to, with rewires. Or Steam input, for example. So that's pretty cool. So some pretty crazy things you could do with this controller. Obviously, that's only going to be used for PC, but what I'm talking about. But that's cool. And yeah, the triggers feel amazing. These are actually my favorite triggers I've ever used ever. Similar to the Xbox Series controllers, and it feels good for racing games, but that Hall effect feeling, it just feels so much better as well. The battery. It's a rechargeable battery it comes with, and you can, you know, put it in your own batteries, but if you wanted to, which is cool, very awesome. What else? These back pedals, or the back buttons, very comfortable. Yeah, they just feel good. No complaints there. Very great. What have we got here? That's your rumble button. It cycles through different levels of rumble, or you can just turn it off, which is cool. I have it on full. The macro button, you hold the macro button, or hold the M, hit your macro, then hit the button you want to copy, then hit the macro again, and it'll start working. Turbo, it works, but I use Steam input and rewires, so I can just use turbo with those programs. I don't need that button, but the turbo is there, which is cool. The middle button gets rid of your, what do you call it, the dead zones in the thumbsticks, which you will need for the gyro, which I will get to. You don't have to have it, but it's there. Have no dead zones in the thumbsticks, the Switch, that's awesome. And that one there gets rid of your dead zones in your triggers, so they can be instant. I personally don't need that because I use the bumpers anyway, and I want to have, you know, 2 bindings on my triggers on PC. But for the Switch, obviously you want to have that because Switch doesn't support analog triggers, so I can see why they have it. That's cool. Now, for the best part of the controller, which, in my opinion, every gyro gamer is going to want to have this controller. And it's this switch here. This allows you to have gyro in any game. So let's say you're playing on the Switch. Most shooters on the Switch have gyro support, but ones that don't, flick that switch, you've got gyro. That's awesome. Or if the gyro isn't very good on the Switch, but the thumbstick movement is, hitting that gyro button will make the gyro emulate the right thumbstick, which can be faster in some games compared to the gyro in the game. And that's unreal. And it also gives you, obviously, it gives you gyro in X input mode on PC. Because X input mode on PC, like Xbox controllers don't have gyro. But this controller gives you that feeling of having, gyro in with an Xbox layout. That's unreal, man. Having gyro in any game is so good. Obviously, putting this controller in Switch Pro mode on PC, you can have gyro anyway with Switch Pro mode, but having the gyro on X input mode, that's just so good. And yeah, PlayStation controllers allowed you to have like gyro in X input mode anyway. But then you're stuck with the PlayStation layout, which not everyone likes. I do like it, but I also want it for some games like third-person shooters or like Grand Theft Auto, for example. I want to use the Xbox layout, but I also want to have the ability for gyro with this layout. So this controller gives you that. And that's so good. And I'm a full-on gyro enthusiast, so this controller is a dream for me. That's awesome. And yeah, there are, like for example, the FlyDigivator 3 Pro, that allows you to do that as well. But that does rely on ReWire support, which does cost money. Where all you need is this, you don't need extra programs to have gyro in X input mode, so that's cool. And yeah, that's pretty much everything. That's all I got to say. Having the Hall Effect thumbsticks that will be coming out in a future version will be cool also. And yeah, cheers to Vinbok for sending this controller. Very happy. And that's all I got to say. I'm out of here. Keep on gaming on. Catch you later.